Welcome to CNN Presents. I'm Aaron Brown. Forensic evidence is often pivotal in criminal cases. Fingerprints, ballistics, DNA, making the difference between innocence and guilt. But how solid is the science behind the forensic science? And moreover, can our nation's crime labs always be trusted? A joint investigation by CNN and the Center for Investigative Reporting reveals some serious flaws in modern forensic work. Inaccuracies, incompetence, and a shocking lack of standards that have led to hundreds of wrongful convictions. The CNN Presents documentary, Reasonable Doubt, is the culmination of more than a year of investigative reporting.
It was quite heinous crime. My friend was beheaded practically. He was multiply stabbed.
Ricky Jackson remembers the day his buddy Alvin Davis was murdered.
A mutual friend of Alvin's and mine lived across the street. And I'll never forget, he called me. He said, something's happening in your friend's building. My involvement came when I instructed him, well, if they, if there's any assistance I can lend, give him my name and number. Silly me.
A few weeks later, the police called him down to the station in Upper Darby Township near Philadelphia. They had found his bloody fingerprints, they said, in the victim's apartment. They arrested him for murder.
They showed me vivid colored pictures of fingerprints, and they were confident that these prints were Ricky's.
Richard and Verna Jackson refused to believe their son could be a vicious killer, so they hired defense attorney Mike Malloy. With fingerprint evidence, he knew what he was up against.
Jurors believe that the fingerprint is almost, a fait accompli for guilt. That those prints are his. It's really saying that he was at the crime scene.
Malloy hired his own expert, a retired FBI examiner.
He says to me in his southern drawl, he says to me, Michael, those prints do not match. As soon as he put his eye to the magnifying glass, he knew instantly.
The lawyer then got a second opinion, another retired FBI examiner, with the same results. No match. But at the trial, 3 prosecution examiners testified that the bloody fingerprints matched Ricky Jackson's prints, without any doubt. It only took the jury a few hours to reach a verdict. Guilty of first-degree murder.
That was the worst moment of my life. I felt like I was dying that day.
Jackson began serving a life sentence with no chance of parole.
As far as being in jail, holidays suck. Your mother's birthday is horrendous. I found basically it was a matter of not wanting to wake up. Oh, but damn, I am.
Meanwhile, Malloy's experts were so outraged by the verdict that they sent the prints to be reviewed by a group that accredits fingerprint examiners. Their verdict? The prints didn't match Jackson's. Even though the case was closed, Malloy kept pushing.
About a year or so after the conviction, after maybe what would be the 20th motion we filed, the prints were eventually sent to the FBI. And they came back and, again, quickly said, no, they don't match.
The fingerprint evidence that put Ricky Jackson in prison for life was simply wrong. After more than 2 years in prison, Jackson was released.
Our lawyer met us at the door and he said, we're bringing Ricky home today. And you would never understand this unless you went through it. And sorry to be breaking up. It was, it was 2 days before Christmas.
How could fingerprints be wrong? The FBI text on fingerprint identification claims fingerprinting has proved to be infallible. So how could 3 different examiners all make the same mistake that sent an innocent man to prison?